Hola, mis estudiantes. We're going to go over what is called stem changing verbs. I've got to find my stylus. Where did it go? I literally just had it. I literally just had this thing in my hand. Oh, here it is. Got it. Interesting. Okay, anyway. Stem changing verbs are verbs that have a change in their root. Now you may say, dude, what is a root? And basically, it's the part of the word that tells us what action is happening. It is also the part of the verb um, that does not contain AR, ER, or IR. So, for example, the root or stem of hablar is habl, and habl means would be the stem for talk. That K is not good. Oh goodness, and that did not work. Okay. The stem kom means eat. Gant is the stem for sing. Beb is the stem for drink. And lastly, decide is the stem for decide. So basically, the stem tells us what, or the root tells us what action is being done. Now, a stem changing verb, there are many of them, and therefore I can't teach all of them, and it would be unreasonable for me to ask you to memorize every single stem changing verb in the universe for at least the Spanish universe, but there are a handful that I use commonly. These stem changing verbs are also called boot verbs, and I will explain that in just a moment. The verb poder is a stem changer. It goes from O to UE. So this O, and I don't know if I can even write on this, that O will change to UE. Poder, jugar, which is one I know that Miss Olmsted went over last year. I know she taught puedo as well for I can, so you should be familiar with that verb. O to UE, so that means that this U, hopefully I can reach it, I can't, that U is going to become UE when we conjugate it. E to IE. This verb decir means to say or tell, so that E is going to change. And then lastly, tener, E to IE, this E is going to change. And there's some special cases, so we're going to go over them now. Poder. Poder means to be able to or can. We would say can in English. We don't say to can. Well, you can say to can, but that's to can vegetables and fruits, not to be able to. So what we do is we want to take this O and change it to UE. If I want to say I can, yo puedo, and there's the UE change. You can, tú puedes, and there's your UE. He or she can, puede. There's our stem change. We also have conjugations, right? We have the verb. Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to use this one. Okay. We have our verb endings. Nosotros. Now, this is why they call them boot verbs, and I'll show you, explain this. For nosotros and vosotros, we do not do the stem change. So we leave it alone, and we just conjugate the verb. For vosotros, it would be podéis. We do not use the stem change, and then for the ellos, ellas form, we will, ellos o ellas pueden. There it is. And the reason they're called a boot verb, I'll use the laser to show you, is because you could draw a boot around the conjugations that use the stem change. That's why they're called a boot verb. The next verb, jugar. Jugar, you guys should be familiar with from last year. U to UE. That means that U in the stem. Oh crap, you guys can't see that. That U in the stem becomes UE. So if I were to conjugate I play as yo juego, U to UE. conjugate the verb. And there's your stem change. You play, juegas. There's your stem change. He or she plays, juega. Then the nosotros is not going to have that stem change. Jugamos. The vosotros also will not have that stem change. And by the way, it is not required. And for my class, you can learn it as enrichment. And then lastly, juegan. Oop, that is an N. I apologize if that is hard to read. This is a little bit unwieldy to do on an iPad. Again, you can draw a boot around the conjugations that require the change in the stem, which is why they call it a boot verb. Decir. This is a verb I'm going to use a lot in class as well as in my stories. E to IE. So that means that E becomes I. And my bird is talking right now. I wish you guys could hear it. I hope it's not saying anything naughty. I don't know if this bird can say naughty words. I just got him a couple weeks ago. So I think he's just saying stop it, but whatever. If I want to say I say, now this is decir is kind of a naughty verb because it's a go verb. Yo digo is I say or I tell. So this one is a what we call a go verb. Why? Because when we conjugate it in the yo form, it's go. So this one's tricky. May take us a while to learn it. That's okay. Two, E to I. So it would be dices, you say, and there's our stem change, E to I. He or she says, dice, again, stem change. Nosotros does not need the stem change. Decimos, I'm having a hard time with the touch screen. Oh my goodness. Decís. And then lastly, dicen. Oops. Perfecto. And there's our stem change. Again, it is a boot verb. And I use this verb a lot. Like when you walk into class, I say, cuando yo digo tu nombre, tú dices aquí. So I use this every day in class and in my stories. Tener, to have. This is a verb that also Miss Olmsted talked to you all about last year. It is what's called an E to IE stem changing verb. The verb tener, so that means to have, and we will change that E to an IE, but it just depends on which form it's in, because last year you were all taught yo tengo. I am really not liking how that touchscreen is reacting with this stylus. If I could write in cursive, that'd be wonderful, but I can, it's just that it's hard to read. Yo tengo. The yo form, because it's a go verb, we're not going to put the stem change in there, but the rest of them follow this rule. So if you want to say you have, tú, tienes, él, tiene, nosotros, tenemos. I'm really not liking that it's picking up like that. Like I'll be writing and then it just it'll stop writing. Anyway, tenéis, and then lastly, tienen. So only a handful of these have the stem change here. But tango is such a common word. I'm hoping that we all know this one. That should be familiar to you. If you're not as familiar with these guys over on this side, well, you will be this year. Conjugation. So our takeaways, like what do I want you to know after reviewing this? What did I want to review with you? Firstly, some verbs have extra steps when conjugating, right? So not every verb you just have to take off the AR, ER, and IR and add your a correct ending. Some verbs you have to change the spelling of the stem. Stem changing verbs require spelling changes in all the forms except for the nosotros, nosotros, and the vosotros forms. Number three, I can't possibly teach you every single stem changing verb. So when you're doing work for class and you look up a verb, or let's say I assign a vocab term and you see next to it, I have written O to UE, U to UE, E to I, or E to IE, just like, and that did not work out nicely. By the way, on my iPad, it is perfectly like lined up. It's not for you. I apologize for that. Um, if you are using, or sorry, if you're doing if you're doing work for my class and you see that these markers here, I'll circle them with. That means that there's a spelling change. That means that it is a boot verb, and you'll have to change the spelling based on who's doing the action. So if you do have a question, you can always ask. If you're like, I'm not sure about that verb, just let me know. And that has been it for stem changing verbs. Be sure to take this Jamboard file and file it away wherever you're putting your notes for Spanish class. Maybe if you're a virtual student and you have a printer at your house, you could print them off. Maybe if you're in class, I'll have the copies ready for you so that you can follow along and copy everything down. But be sure that you're keeping track of your learning appropriately. Thank you so much for your time. Y adios.